Well, hello, welcome back, my Body Language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language guy, and this time we have another of those non-apologies from a celebrity. In this case, James Corden. Well, he was banned from this restaurant in New York for reasons, but the fact that he tried to, well, issue some kind of apology at the start of one of his shows, and I know that you're gonna say that why do we keep covering these apologies that we know are fake? Well, it's easy at some point in some ways to tell when an apology is fake when we are not connected emotionally to the person. Maybe you don't care about James Corden, or maybe you despise the guy. But maybe tomorrow this would happen in your own life, someone that you have some kind of relationship with, maybe your partner, maybe your someone in the family, a friend, a neighbor, and that emotion might cloud your judgment. So it's better if we practice this to identify this human behavior patterns in this example. So when you're faced in real life with the same thing, then you know what patterns you should be aware of. Well, the first thing I noticed at the start of this so-called apology is that he had this attitude. I know that this is James Corden usual attitude on his show, that he has his elbow out, his chin up, and well, that smile, that is a bit of a used car salesman smile, but it's not that appropriate when he wants to talk, wants to be serious about a topic. And I understand too that he works in entertainment, and even an apology, he has to make the apology entertaining. But it creates a conflict that you're gonna see in the next thing that we're gonna say that subtracts from his credibility. And one of the tricks he pulled for this occasion is to have his parents present. You know that strategy that we have talked so many times, that when a person, whether it's Will Smith or Prince Harry or whoever, wants to portray themselves as a family man, they usually name their families or have their families present. You know that is part of the perception that they want the public to have of them. So that's why James Corden did it, to pull at the heartstrings, nothing more. And by the way, I found it baffling that he said, "Never complain, never explain" is very much my motto. Like if he wants to be related in some way, as in, well, that motto is from the royal family, from the Queen, who, well, actually enforced that. But it's not. That is when people talk ill of you, and maybe it's not true. Okay, in this case, he made an offense. It's not like you make an offense and you don't complain, don't explain. That doesn't make sense. So he, right from the start, before apologizing, he wants to turn around the tables, like has to portray the thing like he was the offended one. But then again, he reveals himself with something that his father said.
He said, "Son, well, you did complain, so you might need to explain."
So his father said that he actually complained, so he has to explain. That will be important for later. And notice that when he begins to talk about his apology, to really apologize, when you make a mistake, you get to take responsibility. He has his, I don't know if he is usually does this, but he has his left arm behind his back and away and below the table, I don't know, away from us, like not visible. That is a red flag. I don't know if James does this all the time, if that's part of his regular baseline. What I do know is that is no during an apology. You have to show your hands at all times, because this is a signal that you want to hide something, like maybe hide one part of the story. This is just subconscious. It can be subconscious many times, and you have to pay attention to these tiny details, because body language is always stacking tiny details until you can reach a solid conclusion. And speaking of concrete gestures, it's no wonder that when he's talking about the restaurant that banned him, he makes this prayer gesture like, "Oh, I genuinely love it. I love that restaurant." He wants to, sugarcoat things a bit, and he does this gesture to, "Oh, please, let this go away. please. Yeah, it's a prayer. He is begging them to just drop the ban.
Wrong to the table the third time. In the heat of the moment, I made a sarcastic, rude comment, right, about.
Okay, notice that when he does the sarcastic or rude comment, he first explained, he says, never explain, and he's explaining himself. He's explaining that he made this sarcastic or rude comment, and it had to be a very rude comment, because at that moment he hides his left hand again. When he's talking about what he did, he hides his left hand again. Notice that is a pattern already. It's not that he did it just once, but is doing it at very precise moments. Specifically when he's talking about that rude comment that sparked this final ban from the restaurant. What's more, he talks with this chin up, with an arrogant attitude. It's like, well, I made this rude comment. What are you going to do about it? It was nothing. So he has all the attitude of a non-apology. What are you going to do about it? It was not a big deal. You're making a fuss of everything. Every single ingredient in the book, pun intended, to show that the person is not really sorry, that you were at fault, that the restaurant was at fault. That's what he wants to convey here in his apology. And yes, this happens in real life when people don't want to accept that they did wrong, and they want to convince you that, no, I'm so sorry, but you never hear the words, I'm sorry. Now, I want you to listen to the following, 10, 15 seconds, because he's gonna say something that is truly important for this analysis. And, of course, it's important, and he hid his left hand again.
But here's the truth of it, right? Because I didn't shout or scream, like I didn't get up out of my seat, I didn't call anyone names or use derogatory language, I've been walking around thinking that I hadn't done anything wrong, right?
I mean, there are many ways to be rude to a person. And there are many ways to make a server's life miserable. You might remember that movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper. Well, there's a cut scene, and I think it didn't make the cut of the movie, where he just dismisses patron because he mistreated one of the servers. It's a very powerful scene. You can look it in Reddit. I'm going to include the link to that Reddit post in the description of this video. It's just one minute long. I think chefs and restaurant owners are very mindful of the servers and will be ruthless to any patron that dares to disrespect them, because they're the face of the restaurant and they have to deal with very difficult people at every time. If you have worked with customer service, you know how it is. So Corden is making sure to reduce the heat of whatever happened by saying, I didn't scream, I didn't shout, I didn't stood from the table, I didn't call anyone names. But even if you avoid all those things, you can be really rude and insult. And since we already know that Corden has the same reputation as Ellen and other, narcissists from the industry, it's not hard to imagine that he said something very rude and he's trying to make it seem like it was no big deal. I did nothing wrong. But what's even funnier is that throughout his non-apology, he slipped big time. Listen to this.
Last week, right? So when I read this post, I immediately got hold of his phone number. I called him straight away and I told him how upset I was. I was upset, how upset I was that anybody was hurt by anything that I had done.
Yeah, I immediately called to tell them how upset I was. And then he realized that he slipped up. And, I was upset if anybody had been hurt. Yeah, he slipped up. It was right on camera. You saw it. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. He was upset. He called and insulted them. I'm absolutely sure about that. Well, that is just my opinion. I have to say I don't want to get into trouble, but you realize that it's a slip. Complete slip of the tongue right there. The final words of the apology are very telling too of his true feelings towards this.
I love the staff there. I hope I'm allowed in again one day. So when I'm back in New York, I can go there and apologize in person, which is something I will absolutely do.
That's funny because at no point he said he was sorry, that he apologized, that he only said it was a rude remark. The closest thing to an apology was, but the truth is, I made a rude comment and it was wrong. It was an unnecessary comment. It was ungracious to the server. Has he said, I apologize, I'm sorry? No, he didn't, because he doesn't mean to. He is not going to say it because that's how narcissists act. They try to issue an apology and no, it's just empty words. My body language buddies, my name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy. And remember the two most important words, much love and bliss.